ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Colton Rice Show. And now, here's your host, Colton Rice.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Colton Rice Show, the podcast where, I'm here, I have topics, and yeah. So, how is everybody doing today? Hope everyone's doing okay. I'm doing good. I got up, and I'm here, and I'm ready to do the show, so yeah. So, let's talk about today's topics, which obviously I do have topics to talk about. But we're going to start with the first one, and that's that is the submarine that went missing, and now after days of it being missing out in the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, it got reported yesterday that all the passengers on that submarine have died because of the submarine imploding on them due to loss of oxygen. So if you guys don't know what implosion means, basically it's when one side of the submarine and the other side of the submarine kind of close in on each other and just crush, they meet up in the middle and crush the submarine, making it implode, and basically instantly killing everybody on that submarine. So basically they got crushed to death by a submarine in, the water. So yeah, this is pretty sad. Thoughts and prayers go to the victims who were on that sub. But yeah, this is crazy. They were just trying to visit the Titanic, and all of a sudden, the submarine is missing, and it's gone. And for the past 3 days, nobody was able to find it. Past 3 to 4 days, nobody was able to find it. And, yeah. And basically, they were, some people heard, when they were trying to search for it, they heard, banging, but they didn't know where the banging came from. How is that even possible? You should know where the banging comes from. If someone is banging on, metal, that should be easy to detect, but unfortunately it's not. And, yeah, and then basically the Navy, detecting the waters with their water radar, basically heard the submarine implode, thus, basically saying everyone died on that submarine. Now, I think the red flag about that submarine was how it was being controlled. If you didn't notice, the captain who controls the submarine, he basically had a third-party Xbox controller controlling the ship. Now let's think of that. Let's think about that for a second. A third-party Xbox controller controlling a submarine. That just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, people. Why? Because, well, it doesn't make any sense. If I was controlling a submarine, I would have, something like maybe a steering wheel or maybe some, some kind of lever or something to control a submarine. But no, they went with Xbox controller. That should have been a red flag saying, I don't really trust this. I shouldn't get on the submarine. But they got on the submarine. And, there's also some other crazy theory I have. What if, and this is just a crazy coincidence, what if the members of the Titanic, or technically the Titanic itself, cursed that submarine and, made it hard for nobody to find? Like, this could be like a second Bermuda Triangle. You visit the crash site of the Titanic, and basically all of a sudden your sub disappears, and then nobody's able to find you. Like, seriously, this could be a second Bermuda Triangle happening, except they're gonna call it the Titanic Triangle. Now, if you guys do not know what the Bermuda Triangle is, it is a triangle. Well, it's basically a bunch of sea that goes from like Bermuda to Florida to Puerto Rico, making a big triangle. And if you go anywhere near it, basically you would disappear off the map forever. Now, there's been multiple instances of the Bermuda Triangle disappearing people and ships and stuff, and even airplanes. Yeah, even airplanes have disappeared because of the Bermuda Triangle. Now, are we experiencing a second Bermuda Triangle, but instead of it being, called the Bermuda Triangle, will it be called the Titanic Triangle? Because if you look at where the Titanic, crashed into an iceberg and sunk, if I can pull it up on my phone, because I need to pull it up. So, the Titanic is in like the middle of the ocean. Well, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. If I can get a bigger picture, like I'm trying to figure out. So, if you could, I think this is a triangle, because I just pulled up a map of like where the Titanic is. So the wreck of the Titanic, and then what's the closest city the wreck of the Titanic is at? It's St. John's in Newfoundland, and then the second closest would be Boston. Therefore, if you connect the wreck of the Titanic to St. John's, and then St. John's to Boston, and then Boston to the wreck of the Titanic, you have a triangle. It's a literal triangle. It is a triangle, and I think we just got a new triangle. So, yep, we just got a second Bermuda Triangle, except it's not going to be called the Bermuda Triangle. No, it's going to be the Titanic Triangle. And I think the Titanic is cursed again. Well, I don't know if it's been cursed before, but it's cursed now. Because if you have, something like this occur, you're like, okay, probably don't want to go visit the Titanic crash anytime soon, because it's cursed. Seriously, I think, isn't this, too, out of the blue and instant? Like, seriously, this could be a new thing in like history. Like, I think I discovered something. I think I discovered the Titanic Triangle, literally. Like, it is out of the blue. Like, boom. Or you can even connect the Titanic shipwreck to New York and it's still a triangle with Newfoundland and like St. John's. It's still a triangle. No matter where you connect these points, it's still gonna make a triangle. Like Titanic ship St. John's in Boston, and then Titanic shipwreck to St. John's in New York. It's still a triangle. There's a new triangle, folks, and it's the Titanic triangle. Do not even go near it because it's cursed. Curse of the Titanic. Seriously, who thought, 2023 that the Titanic was going to, be a news story again? Like, seriously. And also, something that brought to my attention is James Cameron's comments about the shipwreck. If you don't know who James Cameron is, he is a film director, film writer, film producer. Basically, he's really famous. And also, he made billions of dollars off of Avatar. And he also made a movie about Titanic. So, yeah. So, what he said, if I can bring up his quote. James Cameron quote. Okay, so here is the quote. I'm pretty sure. I think. I can't find the quote. Oh well. But basically, what he said was, he said that the captain is to blame for the submarine not being able to be found or whatever. And he said that the captain of the Titanic made the same, thing, made the same decisions as the captain of the submarine. So therefore, the captain is to blame for all the loss. And to be honest, I'm going to have to agree with James Cameron. The captain of the ship is basically responsible for the safety and protection of the passengers on the ship, on the submarine, and basically the ship and submarine itself. That captain basically has your life in his hands. It's his duty to protect your life and to see that the captain's being blamed for this. It doesn't surprise me. Because the captain, controls the ship. He controls it where it goes. He controls the submarine where it goes. Basically, the captain controls everything that goes, moves, and does whatever. And yeah. But something, it's just crazy. It is really crazy that something like this has happened again. Like, when's the last time something crazy at the Titanic's happened? I don't think anything that crazy has happened. I mean, when people found the wreckage of the Titanic, everyone went crazy and was happy. But I think, isn't that the only thing that has happened since the Titanic sunk? Let's check. I really want to know. There was things that happened after the Titanic sunk and stuff. Because this really interests me. Now, let's see. I wonder if there's any curse of the Titanic. Curse of the... Oh, yeah. They are talking about the curse of the Titanic. So let's see if any events happened after the sinking of the Titanic. Well, I seem to can't find it. Yeah, but apparently people are saying that it's cursed. Don't know like anything else, but yeah, there's just a lot of curses. So yeah, basically, bottom line, the Titanic's cursed, and don't go near it, especially with that triangle, that new triangle I just invented with the wreckage of the Titanic, St. John's, and Boston, because you'll go missing and you'll probably be never seen again. It's the new Bermuda Triangle. Seriously, it is. And besides, they said the Titanic was unsinkable, and it sunk because it hit an iceberg. And they say submarines are the future and stuff, but nope, they're not. So yeah, this is really crazy. Um yeah, this has to be one of the craziest things the Titanic has ever been involved. Like, seriously. Um so yeah. Now, I don't know what's next for the rescuers. Are they going to try and salvage the submarine and try to find the bodies? Or they're just gonna call off their search? Because if I were, the family, I would like try to salvage the wreck and probably bring back, family members' bodies, because, they just need to make sure they can get sent home and, have a funeral and stuff for them. But I don't think they're gonna be able to find the bodies, because once you implode a submarine, basically the whole body explodes, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure, because if it's crushed, if imagine if there's like a wall and a wall and they close in on you and they squish you. Obviously, there's not gonna be any body because, well, you're crushed to mush. And basically, I think maybe some of the fish got them, like maybe sharks got them, or whales, like, got the bodies. So it'd probably be impossible for, to try and save, um, those bodies. Like, it's impossible. So yeah, if you want my opinion, I don't think they'll be able to save they won't be able to save those bodies, just because it's probably impossible to find, because they've been crushed and probably got ate by sharks or whales. So yeah. And try and find the rest of the wreckage, well, that's going to be a doozy too, so yeah. So yeah, that's all I got to talk about for the submarine. It's, if you want to go visit the Titanic, just let you know, it's cursed. It's always cursed, and it will always be cursed. So yeah. Well, alright. Time to get out this sadness by going to break. But when we come back, the Cincinnati Reds, they're number 1 in the National League Central, and I'm going to be talking about how that's even possible, while also giving my displeasure to Cincinnati, because I'm a Guardians fan. I will always back the Guardians. So yeah. So stick around for that. You're listening to The Colton Rice Show exclusively on the Colton Rice Facebook page. We'll be right back. Alright, we are back with more of the Colton Rice Show. And now it's time for me to talk about, something that's happened that I didn't think it would happen, but it does happen. I don't know why. It's making me question reality. Like, really question reality. The Cincinnati Reds, who I believe are the second best team in Ohio, and the first best team in Ohio would be the Cleveland Guardians. Why? Because I just think so, The Cincinnati Reds are currently in first place in the National League Central Division. Now, I don't know how this happened, but it's kind of getting, not right. That doesn't feel right. The Cincinnati Reds, I know, are like, last place in the National League Central Division. Below Milwaukee, below the Cubs, below the Pirates, and below St. Louis. They've always been below these teams for a long time. I mean, when's the last time they won a World Series? Answer is 1990. That's the last time they won a World Series, and they haven't won one since. Because they don't deserve a World Series. And besides, right now, they played 75 games. And there's 162 games to be played. Which means 75 divided by 162, they've only played 46% of their season. So they're almost halfway done with their season. Well, basically, some baseball teams are almost done with their season. Well, halfway done with their season. Excuse me, wow. Talking about the Cincinnati Reds is making me tired. Ugh. That's why I should be talking about the Guardians. They don't make me tired. But yeah. And then 40 divided by 162. They've only won 25% of their games. So basically, they're almost half and half. They are almost 500. But, yeah. They won 25% out of the 162 games that they have to play. But according to this, they have 53.3%. I don't care. Percentages in baseball and other sports are very confusing. So, yeah. But you know what's shocking me? The Astros not first in their division. They're currently behind the Rangers in 5 games. But, that's whatever. That's whatever, It's whatever. What? But Cincinnati being first or anything? No. Just no. Atlanta being first in their division? That's fine. Arizona being first in their division? That's fine. Minnesota being first in the Guardians division? That's fine, but don't worry, the Guardians will catch up. Tampa Bay being first in their division? That's fine. Keep the Yankees away from that division. But Cincinnati being first in their division makes me say, no. This shouldn't happen. There should be only one Ohio team leading their division, and that's the Cleveland Guardians, the Cincinnati Reds. Even though they're leading their division, they are still not worthy of a World Series title. You know who is worthy of a series title? World Series title? The Guardians. And it's about time they finally win a World Series. Because, if you ask me, who would be, a team that should definitely win a World Series but hasn't because of, BS and stuff? It's the Guardians. Like, seriously. Cincinnati, they haven't won a World Series, and I think I know why. They haven't won a World Series since 1990 because of one person in particular that used to be the owner of the Cincinnati Reds. And you're probably like, who is this, former owner of the Cincinnati Reds? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I'm about to pull up their name. The owner was Marge Schott. If you don't know who Marge Schott is, she was the former owner of the Cincinnati Reds, and she was a bit crazy. How crazy, you may ask? Well, let's just say she did a lot of things that a lot of people found, how should we say it, inappropriate. Well, very inappropriate and very offensive. Because, oh boy, if she was owning the Cleveland Guardians, I would just quit being a Guardians fan. Like, seriously. I would just, return my Guardians merch and be like, here, I don't want it. And the shop merchant would be like, why don't you want it? And I'll be like, because Marge Schott owns my team, and I don't want to be a part of her crazy team. But thankfully, Marge Schott didn't own the Guardians. She owned the Reds. And, yeah. Basically, she was not a nice person. But don't worry, because after the 1999 season, Marge Schott basically sold the team to Carl Linder, who became the full majority owner of the Cincinnati Reds. Now, Marge Schott has to be one of the worst owners in baseball. And how the Cincinnati Reds organization, decided to, work under her ownership, is just unbelievable. Unbelievable and despicable. It's so unbelievable and despicable that I question why some fans of the Cincinnati Reds, they'd be like, yeah, let's have her still be our owner for some reason. Like, seriously, if I was like the mayor of Cincinnati and I saw that this crazy lady named Marge Schott was owning my team, I would tell her to, sell her the team. No, sell her the team, sell the team, lady, and never come back to the city of Cincinnati, because she did go crazy. She was crazy basically because of what she did. Like, seriously. And besides, she was banned from managing the team in 1993 because of her comments, and in 96 and in 98. And she supported one guy that is so controversial that I'm not even going to say his name. Because the guy Marge Schott support is an evil guy. And we will not talk about him. Because he's evil. Like, seriously. The stuff that she did is insane. And thankfully, Major League Baseball was like, yeah, you're crazy, lady. You're getting suspended. And besides, yeah. She was not a nice person. And, oh man, here's a crazy thing too. She wanted Macho Man Randy Savage, kicked out of, the broadcast booth with Marty Brenneman. Bro, why would you want to kick out Macho Man Randy Savage? Macho Man Randy Savage is like one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And Marge Schott was like, oh, I don't want this Macho Man Randy Savage on my, broadcast. Get him out of here. Bro, Macho Man Randy Savage is awesome. Seriously. And I can't believe, Macho Man was at a Cincinnati Reds game. He could have been at a Cleveland Guardians game, but no. Instead, he had to, be at a Cincinnati Reds game and wanted to be kicked out by Marge Schott. The Cleveland Guardians would never do that. They would have never done that to Macho Man. Because Macho Man, he's awesome. Macho Man is awesome. Because seriously, I mean, why wouldn't you want to have Macho Man in the broadcast booth? You could be like, oh yeah, brother, there's the baseballs and catchers and bases and stuff. Like, seriously, that could have been funny. I mean, Macho Man and Marty Brenneman, that could have been funny, but no, Marge Schott wants to ruin the fun for everybody because, well, she's Marge Schott. And let's get off the track of Marge Schott and talk about, the rest of Cincinnati baseball. Their first World Series title was in 1919 when they beat the Chicago White Sox? Well, as a Cleveland Guardians fan, I wouldn't recommend you count that title. I wouldn't recommend it because they say the Cincinnati Reds won Ohio its first ever World Series title. Incorrect. That was the Cleveland Guardians. Because the 1919 title for the Reds is a tainted title because the Chicago White Sox, they should have won, but no, they threw the game. Basically, they just gave the Reds the championship. They were like, here you go, have a championship. So, I think MLB should, take away this Reds championship for, like, being given the most easiest championship in the history of championships. Because that should have been the White Sox championship. And it should have been Shoeless Joe Jackson's championship, and Shoeless Joe Jackson should still be Hall of Fame eligible, because you want to know why? Shoeless Joe Jackson actually played for the Cleveland Guardians, and as a Cleveland Guardians fan, I am offended that Major League Baseball is still not having Shoeless Joe Jackson in the Hall of Fame. Same as Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. Still. Even though they said he allegedly used steroids, I still want Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame. Still. And even Shoeless Joe Jackson. They say he cheated, but nah, I don't think so. I think he was pressured in. Peer pressure. See, peer pressure is what caused, Chicago to lose. And Major League Baseball, doesn't care about peer pressure because, I don't know, they like people getting into peer pressure or something. I don't know. But yeah, stupid. So yeah, basically, the Reds' first World Series title is basically here, have a trophy. Here, have a banner at your freaking stadium. Like, seriously, that is so wrong. They didn't even have to do a thing. They basically just let the White Sox become sucky, and they just easily made their way to a World Series championship. So, if you're saying that the Cincinnati Reds are a 5-time World Series champion, no, they're a 4-time World Series champion, because the 1919 title is a tainted title, and it should be never in. It should not be in the Cincinnati Reds, record book. It should not. If the Guardians were playing the 1919 World Series, they would have destroyed the Cincinnati Reds. I mean it. Cincinnati versus Cleveland in the World Series. That is my dream title game. It is my dream title game. Just like the Bengals and the Browns in the AFC Championship game. But if we had a Browns-Bengals Super Bowl, possibly, but I'm not saying it will happen because, the NFL doesn't like to give us awesome championship games. We want to see some awesome action. Seriously. But no, they just don't want to give the fans what they want, because sports can be sometimes a bit of a jerk. So yeah. And then, all of a sudden, Reds win their second World Series in 1940. Oh, wow. You think you're so cool. Well, guess what? There was a time that the Guardians and the Reds were tied for the most titles until, 1975, 1976, they decided to win back-to-back titles against the Boston Red Sox, which the Red Sox should have won that. And then in 76, they went against the Yankees, and somehow the Yankees couldn't even beat the Reds. They got swept by the Reds of the 76 series. How could you get swept by Cincinnati? Seriously, what were you thinking, Yankees? You're supposed to be the top thing. You're supposed to be the top of the world. Whoop-de-doo-doo. We're the Yankees. We are the best team in baseball. But no, you couldn't beat the Reds in the 76 World Series. Why? It makes no sense. And then you got the 1990 World Series when they swept somehow the Oakland Athletics. And did the Oakland Athletics win the World Series the previous year? Yep, they did. They couldn't repeat. The Athletics couldn't repeat, and that's why they're moving to Las Vegas. They can't repeat, and they can't win championships against the Cincinnati Reds. It's garbage. It's garbage, people. This is some garbage right here. I just can't believe this. And they've only won 3 division titles. You know how many division titles the freaking Guardians have won? We won more titles than you! Seriously! Oh, wait. They've also won 7 West Division titles. Okay, they decided to change divisions. You can't stay in one division. You just have to change divisions. Oh, wow. Freaking insane, dude. So, they've got 10. 3 in the Central, 7 in the West. But, Cleveland never had to, move divisions. Why? Because the Cleveland Guardians are the superior team. We've won 11 Central Division titles. We've won 11 division titles in the Central Division of the American League, and we never had to change. We never had to change divisions. We've won 11 titles, 11 division titles. We have the most division titles out of the Reds. Because you want to know why? We're superior than the Reds. And they have 9 National League pennants. We've got 6, but we're catching up. Even though there's some World Series that we should have won, like 1954, we somehow lost to... Who did we lose to? The Yankees, of course. We lost to the Yankees, but you know... Oh, no, wait, it wasn't the Yankees. It was the Giants. We lost to the San Francisco Giants, who were the New York Giants, but still, we should have won. We should have won the 1954 World Series. It would have made a lot of people happy. And then we should have won the 1995, World Series. But, the Atlanta Braves just like to take away our, fun and stuff. And then in 1997, we should have beaten the Marlins. But no, the Marlins, just like to be mean to us. We were out away from winning it all, and then no, Marlins had to, beat us up for our lunch money. And then we should have won. We should have won the 2016 World Title, but no, the Cubs had to smack us in the face like, haha, you're a loser, you bunch of losers. You see, we should have won all the. We should have 6 titles, 6 World Series titles instead of 2. We would have more than the Reds if, history would change. And that's what I want to do. I want to go back in time and fix all those games to make sure the Cleveland Guardians have more titles than the Reds. If I had a time machine, I would go do that. Same goes for any Ohio State team. I would make sure that these games get fixed so that Ohio State wins the most titles. Because, Ohio State... number 1. Always number 1. But yeah. And you know what's crazy? They've had many name changes. Like, their first name was the Red Stockings, and then they were just the Reds, and then they were the Red Legs, and then they just decided to keep it with the Reds. Like, seriously? You had to change your name that many times? You had to change your name 4 times to get it right? Well... You had it right the second time, and then you just nah, and then you just change it back. Like, wow. But, something that doesn't make any sense? Who does the Cincinnati Reds have on their team right now to, get to 40-35? Jonathan India? Never heard of him. Spencer Steer? Never heard of him. Tyler Stevenson, never heard of him. Jake Fraley, never heard of him. Oh, great. Now ESPN crashed because it doesn't want me to continue. Okay, here we go. TJ Friedel, never heard of him. None of these guys ever. Well, Joey Votto, I know this guy, but, Joey Votto. We all know he's never going to win MVP. None of these guys on this team is going to win MVP. Because you want to know why? It's impossible for them to win, MVP. And then that's batting. You go to pitching. There's nobody I know here. Nobody. And then you go to fielding. Nobody I know. Except for Joey Votto. They've got nobody. The Reds literally have nobody except for Joey Votto. See? The Cincinnati Reds baseball club has gone down the toilet ever since Pete Rose went away from baseball and got banned from the Hall of Fame because he gambled, and ever since Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. left the team as well. Basically, Cincinnati baseball, I don't know how they're not first in the National League Central, but don't worry, they're going to fall probably after the All-Star weekend. And yes, I'm calling it. Cincinnati Reds are going to collapse after the All-Star weekend. That is a major guarantee. Put it down, write it down. Write it down, folks. Keep track of it. Cincinnati Reds will collapse after the All-Star weekend. Because trust me, I know my sports. So yeah. Alright, well, since I'm done talking about the Cincinnati Reds, I'm gonna go to break. But when we come back, we got a fumble of the week, folks. It's a big one. It is a big one that you don't want to miss. So stick around. You're listening to the Colton Rice Show exclusively on the Colton Rice Facebook page. We'll be right back. And we are back with more of the Colton Rice Show. And ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the return of the Fumble of the Week. And oh boy, is a big one. It is a pretty big one.
Ah, crap!
So, this week's Fumble of the Week goes to the Stephen F. Austin bowling team. If you are wondering why there's a if you're wondering why that the Stephen F. Austin bowling team's getting the Fumble of the Week, it's because the assistant coach of the girls team, the Stephen F. Austin girls team, was basically having, relationships with the players, and therefore he got fired. And here's the craziest part. The assistant coach is the husband of the head coach of the girls' team. So obviously, when she found out, she probably was like, yep, you're fired and I want a divorce. So, yep. Who would have thought? Who would have... You probably think about, maybe girls basketball, girls lacrosse, women's lacrosse, women's basketball, women's field hockey, but never women's bowling. When is the last time you ever heard a women's bowling coach had a relationship with a student? Never. It just never. How does that happen? I don't know how that happened, but my God, that is crazy. That is the craziest thing I've ever heard from bowling. Seriously. I've been a bowler for almost, 8 years now, and I have never heard of an assistant coach hooking up with a student. Seriously. It boggles the mind, why? Hooking up with one of the bowling team members, wow, you must be very, very bored of your marriage to, do that. And seriously, he did it, and he knew his wife was the coach, so why? We'll never know, because it happened, and he let it happen, and therefore, it happened. Crazy and stuff. Wow. But, yep, it happened, and yeah, there's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do about it. And, yeah. It's pretty crazy. It just happened out of the blue. How did this happen? We don't know. Why did it happen? We don't know. But it's whatever. It's whatever. Stuff like this happens a lot, but only in certain times. I don't know. But it's crazy. Pretty crazy. Well, yep. Fumble of the Week goes to the Stephen F. Austin girls bowling team because the assistant coach was hooking up with one of the players. Just boggles the mind. Alright, well, with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is my time. And, yeah, it's time for me to get out of here. So, thank you all for tuning in today. next week. So next Friday there's not going to be a show, but Tuesday or Wednesday there will probably be a show. So be on the lookout for that, because now the Colton Rice Show is going to be doing the show one way or the other. So basically on my new schedule, there will probably be a show, there probably won't be a show. You'll just have to, you'll just have to wait and see if there's a show. But there will be a show next week. So yeah. But yep, that's it for this week, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. And I'll see you all probably either Tuesday or Wednesday next week, because that's the availability I have for doing this show. So, yeah. I'll see you guys either next Tuesday or next Wednesday. So, yeah. See you guys later.
Disappointed.